You know what time it is? Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We are back with Storytime with Chris. We back. Hi, y'all. Thank you for watching. Like I always say, you do not have to watch these stories when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, leisurely time, nap time, in between time, sleep time, snack time. This one lock is going to get on my nerves, but it happens. It's just the magic of having natural hair. Team Natural all day. Now, for those who are just tuning in, we are back with a series of unfortunate events. We are on chapter 8 tonight, and we don't have that much left. And we're going to read all 13 books for this series. Yes, all 13 books. It's going to be big. It's going to be great. It's like ASMR for reading. It's great. Like I always say, reading is not just fundamental. It is essential. You should always be reading no matter how old or young you are, whether it's a novel, a novella, a manga, a magazine, a comic, anything, reference material. You should always be reading because it helps elevate one's diction, helps broaden your scope on culture and your surroundings. It helps you learn more about the world, and that's what we're here to do, is to learn. And that is what we do. Now, of course, y'all know I'm habitually constantly having to clean my glasses because, you know, that's just me just being messy. I can't help it. Like, my glasses are they are my sword and my kryptonite. Like, without them, I can't see anything. It's like Velma from Scooby-Doo. My glasses, I can't find my glasses. It's pretty much what happens when I don't have them on, which I can barely see the screen, so that's totally fine. Hence why I am getting them together. Got my good tea here, in one of my favorite mugs. If you don't enjoy tea, you're missing out. Because I don't drink coffee or energy drinks. This is just me all the time. Yes. Yes. If I had coffee, it would be a remake of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. For the kids that may have never seen that movie, go on Disney Plus and educate yourself, because it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I said what I said. And then we got Archimedes here, chiming in. He's awesome. Always a wonderful helper. Which actually, I'm going to read the story that Archimedes comes from, which is T.H. White's The Sword in the Stone, which is one of my favorite Arthurian legends. We'll get to that in the springtime. Because right now we have the Book of Three on Facebook, which is the first book in the Prydain Chronicles, which is more Welsh mythology. But in springtime we'll go into some Arthurian legends, like the Knights of the Round Table and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, stuff like that. We'll get to it. Okay. And no, I do not own the music that you will be listening to in the background, which is brought to you by, if I'm not mistaken... Ooh, excuse me. I thought it was brought to you by Holiday Music. It's somebody else. But still, it fits for this story. And without further ado, we will begin. I wonder if Klaus was able to find something to get out of this situation with Count Olaf. Because they was looking up inheritance law, which inheritance, kids, basically is to refer to a lump sum of money or items or property or things that someone older than you or your parent or guardian is bequeathing to you, is giving to you as a means of prosperity. It could be a check, it could be a car, it could be a house, it could be an Italian sausage, yes. Food is also something you can inherit. Trust me, I know, okay? Hi, Matt. Thank you for watching. Chapter 8. Klaus stayed up all night reading, which was normally something he loved to do. Back when his parents were alive, Klaus used to take a flashlight to bed with him and hide under the covers, reading until he couldn't keep his eyes open. Some mornings his father would come into Klaus's room to wake him and find him asleep, still clutching his flashlight in one hand and his book in the other. But on this particular night, of course, the circumstances were much different. Klaus stood by the window, squinting as he read his smuggled book by the moonlight that trickled into the room. He occasionally glanced at his sisters. Violet was sleeping fitfully, a word which here means with much tossing and turning. On the lumpy bed, and Sunny had wormed her way into the pile of curtains so that she just looked like a small heap of cloth. Klaus had not told his siblings about the book, because he didn't want to give them false hope. He wasn't sure the book would help them out of their dilemma. The book was long and difficult to read, and Klaus became more and more tired as the night wore on. Occasionally his eyes would close. He found himself reading the same sentence over and over. He found himself reading the same sentence over and over. He found himself reading the same sentence over and over. But then he would remember the way the hook hands of Count Olaf's associate had glinted in the library and would imagine them tearing into his flesh, and he would wake right up and continue reading. He found a small scrap of paper and tore it into strips, which he used to mark significant parts of the book. By the time the light outside grew gray with the approaching dawn, Klaus had found out all he needed to know. His hopes rose along with the sun. Finally, when the first few birds began to sing, Klaus tiptoed to the door of the bedroom and eased it open quietly, careful not to wake the restless, Sunny or Violet, who was still hidden in the pile of curtains. Then he went to the kitchen and sat and waited for Count Olaf. He didn't want to wait long before he heard Olaf tromping down the tower stairs. When Count Olaf walked into the kitchen, he saw Klaus sitting at the table and smirked, a word which here means smiled in an unfriendly, phony way.
"Hello, orphan," he said. "You're up early."
Klaus's heart was beating fast, but he felt calm on the outside, as if he had a layer on invisible armor. "I've been up all night," he said, "reading this book." He put the book out on the table so Olaf could see it. "It's called Nuptial Law," Klaus said, "and I learned many interesting things while reading it." Count Olaf had taken out a bottle of wine to pour him some breakfast, but when he saw the book he stopped and sat down. "The word nuptial," Klaus said, "means relating to marriage."
"I know what the word means,"
Count Olaf growled.
"Where did you get that book?"
"From Justice Strauss's library," Klaus said. "That's not important. What's important is that I found out your plan."
"Is that so?"
Count Olaf said, his one eyebrow raising.
"And what is my plan, you little rat?"
Klaus ignored the insult and opened the book to where one of the scraps of paper was marking his place. "The laws of marriage in this community are very simple," he read out aloud. "The requirements are as follows. The presence of a judge, a statement of I do by both the bride and the groom, and the signing of an explanatory document." This is why I talk way too fast. I'm from Cleveland. I can't help myself. "An exploratory document in the bride's own hand." Klaus put down the book and pointed at Count Olaf. "If my sister says I do and signs a piece of paper while Justice Strauss is in the room, then she is legally married. This play you're putting on shouldn't be called The Marvelous Marriage. It should be called The Menacing Marriage. You're not going to marry Violet figuratively. You're going to marry her literally. This play won't be pretend. It'll be real and legally binding." Count Olaf laughed a rough, hoarse laugh.
"Your sister, Cat, isn't old enough to get married."
"She can get married if she has the permission of her legal guardian, acting in loco parentis," Klaus said. "I read that too. You can't fool me."
"Why in the world would I want to actually marry your sister?"
Count Olaf asked.
"It is true she is very pretty, but a man like myself can acquire any member of beautiful women."
Klaus turned to a different section of nuptial law. "A legal husband," he read out aloud, "has the right to control any money in the possession of his legal wife." Klaus gazed at Count Olaf in triumph. "You're going to marry my sister to gain control of the Baudelaire fortune. Or at least that's what you plan to do. But when I show this information to Mr. Poe, your play will not be performed and you will go to jail." Count Olaf's eyes grew very, very shiny. But he continued to smirk at Klaus. This was surprising. Klaus had guessed that once he announced what he knew, this dreadful man would have been very angry, very violent. After all, he had a furious outburst just because he wanted roast beef instead of puttanesca sauce. Surely he'd be even more enraged to have his plan discovered, but Count Olaf just sat there as calmly as if they were discussing the weather.
"I guess you found me out," Olaf said simply. I suppose you're right. I'll go to prison, and you and the other orphans will go free. Now why don't you run up to your room and wake your sisters? I'm sure they'll want to know all about your grand victory over my evil ways.
Klaus looked closely at Count Olaf, who was continuing to smile as if he had just told a clever joke. Why wasn't he threatening Klaus in anger, or tearing his hair in frustration, or running to pack his clothes and escape? This wasn't happening at all the way Klaus had pictured it. Which, fun fact, kids, you should never, ever, 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 and I will repeat this till the cows come home, don't reveal the denouement. Don't reveal your plan. Let it play out. Get all the players involved in your scheme, and then reveal the trueness of your plan. Because when you reveal it to the person you want to capture, things may not turn out in the way you want, and we'll see what happens next.
Well, I will go tell my sisters, he said, and walked back into his bedroom.
Violet was still dozing on the bed, and Sunny was still hidden beneath the curtains. Klaus woke up Violet first.
I stayed up all night reading, Klaus said breathlessly as his sister opened her eyes, and I discovered what Count Olaf is up to. He plans to marry you for real. When you and Justice Strauss and everyone all thinks it's just a play, and once he's your husband, he'll have control of our parents' money, and he can dispose of us.
How can he marry me for real? Violet asked. It's only a play.
The only legal requirements of marriage in this community, Klaus explained, holding up nuptial law to show his sister where he'd learned the information. Are you saying I do and signing a document in your own hand in the presence of a judge, Justice Strauss?
I'm not old enough to get married, Violet said. I'm only 14.
Girls under the age of 18, Klaus said, flipping to another part of the book, can marry if they have the permission of their legal guardian. That's Count Olaf.
Oh no, what are we gonna do?
Violet cried. We can show this to Mr. Poe, Klaus said, pointing to the book, and will finally believe us that Count Olaf is up to no good. Quick, get dressed while I wake up Sunny, and we can be at the bank by the time it opens.
Violet, who usually moves slowly in the mornings, nodded and immediately got out of bed and went to the cardboard box to find some proper clothing. Klaus walked over to the lump of curtains to wake up his sister. Sunny, he called out kindly, putting his hand on where he thought his sister's head was. Sunny? There was no answer. Klaus called out Sunny again and pulled away the top fold of the curtains to wake up the youngest Baudelaire child. Sunny? But then he stopped. For underneath the curtain was nothing but another curtain. He moved aside all the layers, but his little sister was nowhere to be found. Sunny! He yelled, looking around the room. Violet dropped the dress she was holding and began to help him search. They looked in every corner, under the bed, and even inside the cardboard box. But Sunny was gone. Where could she be? Violet asked worriedly. She's not the type to run off. Where can she be, indeed? Said a voice behind them, and the two children turned around. Count Olaf was standing in the doorway, watching Violet and Klaus as they searched the room. His eyes were shining brighter than they ever had, and he was still smiling as if he had just said a great joke. And that is where we will end for tonight. As always, you do not have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to... This hair is coming out of my nerves. I would just have to buy a hairband where I can just pull my hair back. Like I always say, you don't have to watch these videos when they go live. They are here for your leisurely pleasure. This is my passion project to get kids, as well as adults, excited about the magic of reading. And we're not that far from the end, y'all. Like, we're on chapter 9 on Thursday, because tomorrow is the Book of 3 on Facebook, which is at 7:30 tomorrow. See you then. But thank you all for watching. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you. And everybody else that's been watching. So without further ado, I bid you all a good night. Love you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, y'all.